time joining me, thank you so much. And I extend a warm welcome to you. If you are coming back again, well, welcome. It's nice to see you again. If you find anything that I have to say during this video useful or helpful, I encourage you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as turn on the notifications. Another thing that you can do is hit share. Share it with somebody that you love and care for who you think may find this information helpful. So, today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about why we stay with narcissists. It's one thing that we get into the relationship unknowingly. We don't know who they are, right? But once we start seeing signs or we start getting feelings about something is off here, or you find yourself walking on eggshells, why do you continue to stay? Why do we continue to stay? Why did I continue to stay? That's a question that people ask a lot. Now, one thing about narcissist abuse is it's insidious. It's unlike anything I mean, like, you really have to experience it to know what it feels like, and it would give you insight, more insight as to why we stay in these relationships. It is psychological abuse. A lot of the times it's emotional as well as physical for some people. Not every narcissist is violent physically, right? But they all are psychologically abusive. And once you get into somebody's psyche, things, certain things happen. And that's why we tend to stay in the relationship. Nobody in their right mind seeks out a toxic relationship. There are many factors why. And so I want to talk about this or those reasons in this video. One thing that I will say about myself, right? Well, first of all, let me back up a bit. Let me just say, there's really two categories of people who will fall into a relationship with a narcissist. And they could be more, but I'm going to focus on these two main, or I want to mention these two main ones. The first one is empaths. They have these healing qualities that do attract narcissists, right? So that's one group of people that will stay in a relationship with a narcissist or get involved with narcissists. Another one are codependents. Now, I would be able to, or if I could just be honest with you, I was able to identify myself as a codependent. Like, if you don't know my story, I was a victim of childhood sexual assault. It was in my very early years. And so, that's where codependency was formed for me. And I just had a kind of, my views on love, or what love could be, were kind of skewed. They were not consistent with what real love is. And so I was a great victim. I was great prey for a toxic type of person. And so, I think it's important that you are able to identify where on the spectrum you fall, where you lie, so that you can begin to heal yourself and have adequate, sufficient boundaries that would help you to protect yourself emotionally going forward, because you don't want to have this as a pattern of abuse in your life. You want to be able to identify it and put a stop to it. So when you get into the relationship with a narcissist, the very first stage is love bombing. And that's the idealization phase of the relationship. Everything feels great. You feel like you have your soulmate and everything in the world is awesome. But the next phase is the devaluation phase, right? And in the devaluation phase, this is where you realize that, okay, something's not right here, or you start walking on eggshells, but you still don't leave. You stay. Now, there's a few things that happen here, and I want to focus on two. And the first one is trauma bonds. Now, what is a trauma bond? So a trauma bond is a bond that's forced, or that is formed due to intense emotional experiences, and they're usually with a toxic person. It's similar to Stockholm syndrome, and it holds the victim emotionally captive to the manipulator. And it's kind of like they keep you hostage. And this, again, this happens whether it's physical, emotional, or psychological abuse. You kind of feel like you're stuck, and you can't move. You feel powerless and out of control. And again, I say this a lot, that with narcissists, it's all about power and control. And here you are feeling like you lack power and control in this relationship. You can't leave. You can't do anything. And you at times even feel like, what, something doesn't feel right, or I don't even like this person, but you find yourself still unable to leave. And one thing that, okay, so I'm not a crackhead, I've never tried any of those things, but they say, like, once they take the first hit, and I don't know whether it's heroin, crack, cocaine, whichever one, but they say once they take the first hit, once an addict takes that first hit, it's like they every other hit afterwards is trying to go back to that very first high. So it's like you're trying to get back to that elusive high. And so with these relationships, what happens, like even with the trauma bond, right? You always will fall back in your mind to what the beginning of the relationship felt like. You'll remember how intense it was, because again, this is deliberate abuse. That love bombing serves a purpose. And every now and then, the narcissist will dangle a carrot in front of you. They will show up every now and then as your prince charming, or as the woman of your life, the lady of your dreams. They will show up as that person every now and then and give you a taste of how things used to be. And for a moment you feel like, oh, I've got my person back, everything is about to be okay. And then just like that, they pull the rug from under your feet, and you go right back into the devaluation stage. And this is to keep you trauma bonded. It's to keep you in a state of confusion, in a state of like, okay, what's happening here? And that's really, that's what it's about. And at the same time, you keep wanting that high, because the person that they present to you in the beginning really does feel like your soulmate. They go above and beyond to form a connection with you, a deep connection, or to foster that connection with you. And even though to them nothing is sincere, they don't mean any of it, to you it's real. And so you just keep trying to get back to that moment. You're trying to get back to how things used to be. And it doesn't really, it never really comes back, because it's, the mask is really about to fall when they stop going back to that first stage and just stay in the devaluation phase of the relationship. Another thing that you experience with a narcissist that keeps you in that relationship is cognitive dissonance. This is the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, attitudes. And this is especially as it relates to behavioral decisions. You don't trust yourself. And you got to remember that, part of this devaluation phase, the narcissist is gaslighting you. They're making you feel like nothing that you do is enough. And, part of cognitive dissonance is really that forced compliance behavior. I've heard of some people say the narcissist that they dealt with really, would try to punish them or try to make them obey, or they would test them. And this is very common. Like it's very common. It is so common. Like I remember leaving when I had left the narcissist I was involved in. He said something like, oh, I wasn't behaving, and he was going to punish me and make me his slave, and dumb stuff like that. I was like, you crazy at this point. And it's tragic for him and great for me, because at that point I knew who he was. And so I wasn't phased by that. I was just like, oh, these people are real psychotic. They don't make any sense, but that's just what it is. And once you're in a relationship, like, or when you're getting to know somebody, don't tune out how you feel. A lot of times people will say stuff like, get out your feelings, but no, your feelings serve a purpose. Your feelings are there to keep you informed with what's going on with you internally, as well as what's happening to you around you. It's that inner voice, it's that gut feeling, it's your instinct, and it is never wrong. I said it in the very last video that I did, and I'm saying it again. Your intuition does not require evidence, and you have to become so comfortable with yourself and so self-assured that you don't question it. If I could go back in my mind and think of how many times I wish I would have made a different choice, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache, you know. But here I am. I have experience and now I'm sharing it with you so that you don't have to continue to face this abuse. Or even if you are just curious about what is narcissist abuse and why do these people stay with them, here's why. And, you know, especially if you are somebody who has a friend, a family member, a loved one going through this and you just don't understand why they continue to stay in the relationship. Here's the truth: you're not going to understand. It's unlike anything you can imagine. I'm so serious when I tell you that you need to experience this for yourself. Not that you need to, but you know, that's how it best makes sense to you. Whether you're whether if you've had a parent who's narcissistic or a sibling, a family member, a boss, something, then you can kind of take a glimpse into it. But now this is your intimate partner. This is who you share moments with. This is who you know, look towards the future with. This is where you have your pillow talk, you know, all of those things. You are connecting souls, you're forming soul ties and all of that. So it's different. It's on a deeper level and a more intimate level. And so, you know, they play games with the minds. You know, they are master manipulators. And honestly, you just really do feel powerless. And it's just like I said earlier, the crackhead or, you know, the dope fiend trying to get back to the first high. And anybody who has abundant amounts of self-love and is self-aware and is who has healthy boundaries that they are respecting would put a stop to this at the beginning. And that's something that, you know, many of us do lack. But this is, you know, it's a journey. I wouldn't be here talking to you if I didn't have this experience. And I wouldn't be here helping you and sharing my story, my testimony, just to help somebody else, you know, not go through these things. And so if you are somebody who does not know what it feels like, then practice a little compassion, saying stuff like, "I'll just get over it." How do you get over how do you get over a relationship that didn't exist, but you were in it? How do you get over, you know, years of psychological abuse or manipulation? It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. And so even if you're the person who's experienced it, extend some grace to yourself. Allow yourself to feel the emotions that you are feeling. They are not wrong. It's those are your feelings. And one of the most important steps in your healing or in your recovery is going to be acknowledging what you feel. It's going to allow you to grieve this relationship. And so, you know, I just wanted to come on here and talk to you about that. Also, just to offer some encouragement for anybody who is currently dealing with this or who has been looking for answers as to why did I stay with this person. Get the help that you need. Reach out to, you know, the various communities that are available. Seek a therapist if you have to. Do what you have to do so that you never experience this type of insidious abuse again. I want to thank you for joining me. My name is Pink Girl Teaches, and like always, love yourselves and love each other. Till next time.